Hi, this is Andy Collin from Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised. I'm here with Chris Pomeroy, and we are talking to Brad Laboe. The first computer I ever played with was with Brad Laboe at the Aspen Community School. So let's catch up. I know that he was into computers then, so let's see what he's up to.
So what are you up to these days, Brad? What are you doing?
Semi-retired. I've done a lot of different things, in my career, and all of them have involved, stuff that I learned with Nick. All of them have involved video and computing.
You start at the beginning, college.
College. I'm a high school and college dropout. You should know that. I went to City College for 3 years and then ran out of money. Let me get my resume out so I can really refresh my memory because I'm that old. Let's see. Then, I got a job working at an insurance company, mostly because, or not an insurance company, but a company that does radio and television spot sales. You ever heard of Blair Communications?
I actually have, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for a while there, I was their senior architect for their microsystems. That was back when desktop publishing, or I should say, small systems publishing started. The big Radius monitor,
Right.
and the Apple. Which one was it?
Lisa?
No. I think it was like the 2C, but the big one that was meant for professional things. And we had a Novell network. And I wired a complete Novell network for them. Built the server, did the whole thing. That's when they were getting rid of the 3270 terminals at that point. And I'm like, no, you don't need that stuff. You need to do it this way because then you have control over it and you're not reporting back to the mainframe. Then after that, I went to work for Shearson Lehman Hutton, and I ran their advanced technology lab. They were getting ready to go from hard paper storage to scanned documents.
Not microfiche, but actual computerized,
8.5
digitized.
Digitized scanned documents. And actually, did I leave that out of there? Actually, I did leave that out of that. So before John Blair Communications, I actually worked for a company called AGA, Advanced Graphic Applications. And what they did was for Maimonides Hospital, they did the same thing where they scanned images in 100 DPI, 8.5 by 11, which is a 1 meg page. They used the worm drives because that was the biggest storage at the time, the big 12-inch platter worm drives. And you can store 100,000 documents compressed.
Wow.
From him and Stan Martyr specifically, I learned about compression. And Stan Martyr comes into my career later in the picture. You ever heard of a company called On2/The Duck? You ever heard of a compression algorithm called AV8,
Yeah.
AV9?
Yeah.
Which is becoming AV1. Okay, I helped work on that.
Oh, wow.
One of the things that, because I'm not really a college-educated person, one of the things that companies usually use me for is that I have a bigger understanding of an entire picture. And I can give you an example from that point in my career, which is they were working with this company called J Laser. And they had a card that used a video interface to go to a modified Apple image writer printer, not an image writer printer, but the laser writer printer to print bitmap documents. And, I was working with these kids from Cooper Union, and they couldn't figure out how the banking ordered. The images were always coming out scrambled. And so I had one write me a memory scan routine, and I wrote a memory print routine. And then I put a big line down the page, put numbers down the page, scanned it in, figured out the order for them in an analog fashion rather than going through the circuit trying to figure out, how did they bank the memory. So it's the kind of things, because I'm not college educated, I come up with a lot of, sideways thinking. And, this throughout my career, it's always been like that.
It's interesting because I almost feel like as we step further and further into the future with all this technology, it feels to me like it's really important to have those fundamental skills and different way of thinking about it, because if you're always looking one way, you're going to get hit in the back of the head because you're not really.
Here's the problem with that. Resume scanners pick those people out and throw them away.
You're right. They do.
Yeah.
They definitely do.
They pick those people out, throw them away. I mean, my resume is 7 pages long for a reason, because each one of those experiences contributes to the fact that I know how it works.
Right.
I've been with it from the beginning. Let's see. So we're at New York Life Insurance, where I ran their high technology lab. And New York Life Insurance at that point was a big, IBM shop. So here we are, we're designing our network. We're teaching them, you have to have document shakers and so forth and so forth. And then you have to have a network. And, I said, okay, well, Ethernet, cheaper net is easy. It's going to be quick. No. The next day I get called into a senior vice president's office. And they're going, well, why aren't you picking IBM Token Ring? And I'm like, and the IBM guy goes, yeah, you don't even know where you're going to put your muxes. And I just looked at him and said, clearly you do not understand networking. You only understand it from the IBM point of view. And let's just say I made some enemies at that company because, well, a lot of people were, nobody gets fired for buying IBM. And they had that this project would take them 3 years. We had it up and running in 6 months.
Wow.
Because we just went with the Ethernet, and that's one of the things that's been consistent in my career is that, I can look at something and see it and say, well, there's a better way to do that. Then I went to work for, after that one, I went to work for RGA Digital Studios. Got to participate in a lot of really cool stuff. You ever seen the movie The Last Action Hero?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that was done on a PVS that I maintained, an IBM PVS.
Wow.
And the thing crashed right before it was due. So we spent 40-some straight hours restoring the backups that I had just made before it crashed.
So going back to what you said earlier, you reminded me of something funny, where you were talking about not necessarily going through the traditional route for education and knowing different ways to do things. In the movie Brazil, Robert De Niro's character, it kind of exemplifies what you're talking about. You had the Bob Hoskins, I can't remember who else the other guy was, but they were building out the heating.
We're all in it together.
Yeah, exactly. The heating and air conditioning system, and they're tearing walls out and taking 5, 6 months to fix it. He comes over with a little dongle or something that he haphazardly slapped together and fixes it. Yeah, right.
What's this then?
do you, Brad? Do you feel like the out of the box thinking was because of? I mean, we grew up with Nick DeWolf and John Katzenberger kind of getting us into stuff, and it felt like
the Aspen
being exposed
Community
at
School.
such a young age was.
Yeah. The Aspen Community School was all about the out of the box thinking. Come on,
Yeah.
That's and putting this thing and that thing together. I mean, they let us fail on our own.
Well, and then we also got to see, them building the WinStar biosystem thing with the tanks and the fish and and so we got to sort of really.
My stepfather was.
Because our
stepfather was a solar
that.
architect. Yeah, exactly. My stepfather was a solar architect. So, literally, because of the kind of all-arounders we are, we can discuss everything from, computing, solar energy, film and video special effects. I mean, weren't you there for the time when, what's his name from ILM came over and gave the lecture at Nick's workshop?
Uh-huh.
Were you there for that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How many of us in that room ended up working in some form of media or computing?
Yeah.
Pretty much all of us.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, look at Ivan, man. what's so funny is I came here to Portland, Oregon, and worked at Vinton Studios, trying to get into the studio because I was a nobody. Didn't really have a resume or anything, but I could sculpt because of my animals I was making when I was a kid. So the way I figured I'd get in is I go hang out with those guys. So I started playing basketball with them after work. And so I started to meet a few guys. And one of the guys I met was Hal Hickel. And Hal Hickel is the guy who ended up leaving Vinton's and going to work at ILM. And when he worked at ILM, his first project that he produced himself was Pirates of the Caribbean. And one of his key animators for the underwater scenes was Ivan the Wolf.
Well, okay, so Ivan's real thing in the computer industry is the math of crowds. Okay? Now, you remember his adversarial relationship with Bart Pepitone.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. And
the reason Bart was so adversarial with him because Bart recognized the genius in him, math-wise.
Yes.
Okay? Ivan's crowd stuff is incredible.
Well, Ivan, it's funny because we did talk to Ivan, and one of the things that he talked about was that he has this thing where if you force him, he won't, forget it. It's done. It won't ever happen. Whereas if you don't force him, he'll whip stuff out and he's amazing. So it's not like he didn't know the homework. He knew the homework.
Demand avoidance, something or other. That was a fascinating conversation.
Well, the first time I met Ivan, I was working for RGA Digital. Hooked up again with Ivan. I was working for RGA Digital Studios on virtual actors and so forth, and we hooked up at SIGGRAPH.
You were doing virtual actors when? When were you doing virtual actors?
95, 94.
Okay, so for all this bullshit that people are talking about with virtual shit right now, you were doing this shit in 95, right?
Yeah. 94, 95, we were doing this. We had a virtual studio up and running by about then.
Wow.
You remember the Shell Dancing Cars commercial?
Yeah.
Okay, I managed the mocap for that.
Oh, cool.
that was Flock of Birds, and each one of those guys was tethered, and there was a huge rigging, and I did the Flock of Birds and the motion capture, the computer part of it.
Yeah, back in those days, oh my God, it was ping pong balls and all kinds of stuff. Now,
no, this was not ping pong balls. This was literally wired sensors.
Oh wow, okay. So,
and the actors had harnesses up their backs.
So it was the original Tesla suit. The original Tesla suit.
This and again, because of the stuff that I did with Nick, I knew all about all of the interfaces and how to make it all work. It was just like no brainer for me. Oh yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. The authors of Growing Up Aspen would like to thank you and would like to also thank the Aspen Times and the Aspen Daily News for giving us materials for our book, Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised, which you can get at twistandturnpress.com and any local bookstore. Thanks.